Yeah.
But I think it's the first time that a hurricane entered and exited as a hurricane on land.
Right. Stream, which is dipped, and that's played a significant role in this.
Oh, there's a lot of factors
Right.
with regard to that. We've been very fortunate in this country not to have more hurricanes.
Not much you can do about the weather.
And then there was a I don't know if you want to call it a flashback. When I was watching one of the news broadcasts, there was one of them that made a comment about, I don't remember if it was Sarasota or one of the other towns, that the last hurricane they had that came there directly was in 1960. And it was funny because the guy on the TV goes, well, that was Hurricane Donna. And I'm going, 1960. And he goes, 1960. Because when that hit, Donna came up the coast. Mm-hmm. And we had, I think our next door neighbor lost part of a tree.
Yeah, we had some.
We had Bob. We've had some different ones here, but it never anything as bad as what's in the south simply because of feeding. But the Atlantic Ocean is a lot warmer.
Yes,
than it used to be.
The first one I remember was Hurricane Carol. That was 1953. I was 6 years old, and I remember that one because that knocked out all the electricity and so forth.
So in 1953, my recollection, because I was like 2, because I was born in 51, we were in public housing. My father was a veteran. He had retired. He didn't retire because he only had 9 years in, but he left the Marine Corps in I think it was like 52 or something like that. But anyway, we were in public housing in Quincy, Massachusetts. And what I remember is that the big tree that was in front of these apartments was uprooted. And there was water everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's my only recollection of 1953 of that particular event, it was. It's interesting what you can remember and what jars some memory, and sometimes it's only as you get older that you remember the things way far away.
Well, I remember the tornado that hit Worcester in '53 because after the tornado, my next door neighbor, Mr. Smith, took his son, who was 3 days younger than I am, we were the same age, took him and me out to see it. And I remember, again, so I would have been 6 years old, six and a half, but I remember vividly, I can still see the images, driving down Main Street in Worcester. The left side of the street was completely leveled. The right side of the street, it didn't look like anything had touched it.
Yeah, that's a tornado.
That's a tornado.
Yeah.
But it just, those images, again, I'm 77, so that was 71 years ago. Those images are just burned into my mind. I can still see that. I mean, it was just made a tremendous impression on me as to what the damage could be done by a tornado.
Hey, on Chelmsford,
yes,
the hotel that's
in the center.
Yeah, kind of.
It used to be the Regency. Is that what it? No, the Radisson.
You know what they're doing to that?
Yeah, they're going to create a newer hotel.
Yeah, it's a rehab, basically.
It's not for
going to be a
homeless.
hotel?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not for homeless. It's not for migrants unless there's something else going on we don't know about.
That's the rumors, and I had...
Because I took a walk over there, I could find no permits attached to the building, I could find no verbiage for what was going on.
But there was a lot on
That's interesting.
Facebook about it, and there
well,
was responses.
I asked the town manager because I'd gotten 2 or 3 inquiries.
Good.
And about 2 weeks ago, so I asked the town manager, I said, what are they doing? And he said what Evelyn said. So it's not going for public housing.
So
It's not.
your takeaway from the conversation with Paul Cohen was they're retrofitting it
Right.
to be another hotel.
Yes.
Good.
So,
I hope there's a market for it.
Well, yeah, because the state will rent it for the migrants.
yeah.
Hope there's a market for it.
So with the hurricane, I'm certainly sure people will follow it as we move forward. There's a lot of disaster relief organizations that's out there. In North Carolina, the first people with boots on the ground appeared to be private individuals and Samaritan's Purse.
That's always the way.
And there's still a lot that's going on. You do have people being interviewed in North Carolina that said they still haven't seen the federal government. There was something key yesterday that was in one of the news reports, because my sister was directly impacted by Hurricane Ian. And when they say, oh, FEMA this, FEMA that, well, FEMA has so much red tape. And when she applied for reimbursement because she had to go stay at a hotel, they said, well, you were supposed to check with us first before you booked anything, because we put you in certain places of availability. And she says, what was I supposed to do? Sleep on the ground until you came forward?
The president's broadcast?
I'm going to talk about that.
I did.
I'm listening. Okay, I'll shut up and listen.
It's okay, I'm going to talk about that. And so you had... And then, but on the broadcast, I think it was one of the congressmen from Florida said, we're still waiting for reimbursement from FEMA for Ian. And so there's so much red tape. And then you had another I don't know if it was a congressman or it was a representative of FEMA or somebody out of the current administration in Washington, said, oh, all they have to do is get online and all they have to do is apply and all this other stuff. There's no computers, there's no link up, there's no electricity, there's nothing to apply, no telephones. And he said, oh, it's easy to do that. So now I want to get into that new term that the Democrats are using called misinformation.
She's a beautiful woman. Have you seen
Misinformation.
her? She's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It depends on which side you sit on.
Misinformation, otherwise known as an opinion we don't agree with.
That's correct. So if I
Okay.
have
That's
a
what that
different
means.
viewpoint,
Right.
that it's called misinformation.
Right.
So they downplay freedom of speech, among other things.
It's
Now,
scary. Think about it.
So they started on this misinformation BS in one of the, I think it was the press conference or whatever it was. Even though on video you have the press secretary saying one thing a few years ago and now contradicting that today, and that is that FEMA was using the money for something else and they were running out of it.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Let's talk a little bit about misinformation coming from the administration.
Depends on what she's wearing, though.
Okay, yeah, you're right, I think she's a good-looking person, but these are the same people, folks, that for almost 4 years lied to us about the condition of the President of the United States, okay? This is a man who clearly, if you were paying attention, in 2020 was not the same person he was in 2016. Clearly was at least at that point starting a cognitive decline. So you've had for the last 3.5 to almost 4 years now, you've had an entire political machine apparatus in Washington lying to us about the state of the President of the United States and his ability, what he's doing, and so forth, who's running the government. And these are now the same people that are telling you that what you're hearing people say when they're being interviewed on TV is misinformation.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. At some point in time, somebody is going to have to stand up and say, the emperor has no clothes. How stupid do these people think we are?
Did either of you see Dr. Phil in Florida yesterday?
No.
No, but wasn't he on The View when they had a little row? That was on one of the articles I didn't read.
Dr. Phil was on Facebook yesterday, and he was bragging about Elon Musk's internet devices. And he says, we're going to the community, so what is FEMA doing? We haven't seen anybody from the government. And that's what Dr. Phil's putting out there. And Dr. Phil, I know he's an entertainer, but I don't think he'd be lying.
He has no reason to. There's no benefit.
He's flying around in a military helicopter, and it's just amazing to see what the guy, maybe it's not a military, but he's flying around in a helicopter.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people that stepped up to the plate with helicopters, but I want to continue on the misinformation piece because everyone can see on television through the different news broadcasts exactly how much the people of the United States stepped up versus the government. It will put that loosely. But as far as the misinformation, I listened to the President of the United States lie to the American people. I don't need to have Donald Trump tell me what's going on. I can hear it from Kamala Harris's mouth that said, oh, we're going to give them $750. She said it. She started it. It isn't that you had a Republican start it. She started it. They picked up on it, and then they took that information and they repeated it, just like all the other stuff. You had the press secretary, you had Mayorkas say that we don't have enough money. That was last week when I came in, and it was news to me. I was listening to some of the information on my radio coming into this program, and that had nothing to do with Donald Trump.
What Mayorkas said was that some of the money that would normally be allocated toward these relief efforts was used to support the illegal immigrants that came into the country. I mean, that's high level what he said. But you're right. He said it.
It wasn't like we made it up.
He said it.
Right.
It was a member of the current administration who said that.
So they've made the current administration, because one of them's running for president, has made it very political with everything that's going on as far as relief for the disaster victims, and where the money is. And it's not the government's money. It's your money and it's my money. And they're not being very good stewards of it, because they're giving it to all kinds of other countries ahead of us. Their priorities are screwed up. And that's where I'm at. And I don't have to listen to a candidate tell me what's going on when the other candidate is telling me what they're doing or what they're offering. And of course, what they're doing is it's a matter of semantics.
Again, I've said it before, I will say it again. I'll probably say it 1,000 more times before I die. All this business about categorizing people, races, and so forth, there's only two groups of people in the world: members of the club and those who are not. Okay? That's it. Doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, doesn't matter. You know, what your religion is, doesn't matter. Masculine, feminine, doesn't matter. Two groups of people: those that belong to the club and those who don't, okay? So, the folks in our government, both parties, Republicans and Democrats, most of them are members of the club. Just remember that. Most of us are not members of the club, okay?
Well, whoever's the members of the club certainly don't want
that's the
a
division.
Republican in office.
No, they don't. Well, they don't want Donald Trump because he's not a member of the club. In fact, not only is he not a member of the club, he would like to destroy the club, which makes him the enemy, all right?
Yeah.
Now, look, I've got my problems with Trump, and we've said that on the
Oh, yeah,
air.
and you and I agree on an awful lot of those issues.
I'm not a big Trump guy, but the thing with Trump is, at least what you see is what you get. I mean, this guy, and he's got a record, 4 years in office. He largely did what he said he was going to do. Now, maybe you don't like what he did, and that's perfectly fine. But here's a guy that stood up and said, if I'm president, here's what I'm going to do or try to do. And he did a lot of what he said he was going to do, and he tried to do a lot of things that he said he was going to try to do. And that's not how the members of the political club play. That's a very disruptive thing.
Yeah, to do what you said you'd do.
I will give one example. Almost every president, going back to Dwight Eisenhower, said that we will move the American embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. They all ran on that. That was all part of their campaign platform. Republicans and Democrats both. Did they do it? No. Donald Trump said, if I get to be president, we're going to move that embassy. Did they do it? Yes, they did. Okay? Now, again, I don't want to debate whether it should have been moved or that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point is they all promised to do something. They didn't do it. He got in, he said he was going to do it, and he did it. All right? So he is not a member of the club. He is a disruptor. And the club members will not tolerate that. And that's why you're seeing the ferocity of the attack against him, because, you know,
Well, everybody also...
they're afraid of him. That's what it
and everybody also thinks we're going to roll back to the 1950s, and that's not going to happen either, because if that was going to happen, that would have been something that he would have done the first time around.
Well, of course.
Or at least started it, and he didn't do that, and they keep forgetting about that. The other thing that...
they know, they're not forgetting. They know very well what can and can't be done. What they're doing is they're counting on the lack of knowledge of the general public as to how things work.
That's like when the president gets on and criticizes Donald Trump about all the lies that he's having, and yet they're the ones that have put the information out there, and all he did was repeat what it was he heard. And it's really,
well,
it's crazy.
A wise man once said to me, if your opponent is accusing you of doing something you're not doing, you can be sure that they're doing it. So just remember that, okay? Just remember that.
Let me show you what came yesterday.
Yep.
I got this yesterday. They sent me two. Is that cool or what?
Oh, my God. Hey,
Yeah, you got to fix the hair a little.
That's,
I got to fix it. It came in a bag, but I got two of these guys.
that's pretty good, actually.
Yep.
So I got for Halloween.
Oh, you're going to go trick-or-treating? Or is it when the kids come to the door?
You probably won't get any candy if you wear that mask.
In Massachusetts.
Right.
Well, I have a lot of characters in my group of family and friends that will have fun with those two masks we got.
So there's a lot of, the misinformation that I hear is not necessarily coming from the Republicans, although they are guilty of it.
Oh, God, yes.
But on the other side, it's like, it's chaos. You had a president that was on a beach and a vice president that was doing a fundraiser during the North Carolina thing. They learned, so for the first time in, 3.5, 4 years, you have a vice president that finally sat in on a FEMA informational session, which was televised, so that PR could go out.
Well, did you see the president's broadcast yesterday? And Kamala was not in the YouTube.
Well, I don't know about that part, but there was. He did something afterwards,
Right.
And she wasn't there. It was him.
Well, no, he was sitting in a room with another woman on live TV, and he's doing a press conference. Oh, the press conference of the president, and they had a Zoom of all the other important people.
Right, she was in that.
She was not there.
Well,
Now,
it
was that other woman misinformation?
Her name
Well,
was never
Kamala was
brought up.
at one of
okay.
them. Whatever, what the first one that I saw, Harris was there.
Oh, okay.
She was trying to sound
That's not the one I
like she
watched.
knew what was going on.
I saw,
Because I saw her.
one of the broadcasts I saw, she was on a split screen.
Did she
Yes.
speak?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she asked a couple of questions.
Okay.
But in one of them,
Good.
she was
Glad
doing.
she's on the ball.
In one of them, somebody must have asked her a question via whatever her earbuds were, because she was doing this and that. But you could hear her talking like that.
Did you hear about the earbud story?
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Another
Tell
conspiracy
the
thing.
audience about the earbud
Yeah,
story.
what was that?
Well, there's several. The first
You
one
don't
was
have a
that
lot of time before
Go.
during the debate, they claimed that the earrings that she had were the ones that you could buy so that you could have some, it wouldn't look like there
Someone
was
could
something
give you
in your
the
ear.
answers.
Then they had the one where she had the earbuds in, but you'd have to correct me with the details, John, that she was talking, but there wasn't anybody on the other side. She had no phone. And so I'm like, what is this? So there was something else that was going on, that she was pretending something so that she wouldn't have to answer any press questions.
Is there any proof to any of this?
Well, there is with the second one, because there were people that saw it. But with the first one, I'm not into all of that stuff, even though when I watched body language, and we'll end with this and we'll pick it up later, of the debate, it was as if somebody was whispering in her ear, oh, you should smile now. Oh, you should do this now. Because it was like jerky a little bit when I watched it. So sometimes you pick up on stuff and most people don't.
Now,
And they're not doing their research.
regardless,
Yep, we'll be back. Please
regardless.
stay with us.
He
We
didn't-
have Judith Bessette coming.
was that?
I don't know. Welcome back to City Life. I'm
That was an
Evelyn
ad
Thoren.
coming up on YouTube.
I am, I'm your host for the next approximate hour, and my co-host Sam Chase is here. Bob Hoey isn't. He has some family commitments this morning. We wish him well. He should have been here. Maybe we had some boring topics during the first hour, but we'll see what happens during the second hour. We do have a guest for the first 30 minutes. I'm assuming that she's coming to talk about Jack Kerouac. She was here, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about whatever, there was some kind of an art show that was local. And so we get a little bit
Kerouac.
of local color here with
A Lowell guy.
the artists, whether they're writers or painters or whatever, that is in the Lowell area. We were ending talking about some of the politics. We'll pick that back up shortly. And you can see that we're on in Drake, Chelmsford, Lowell, Tewksbury, Tingsboro. We're on YouTube. And YouTube is on Facebook, so we're sort of back at that point. And,
Judy's in traffic.
okay, so Judy is on her way. So one of the things, because we'll pick up some of the other political stuff after she leaves, one of the things that we can get into is some of the questions that's on the ballot. I know that Sam wanted to talk about some of the questions. One of them is whether or not people would like to get rid of the MCAS test. That is the assessment that is given to public school students. And they have modified it from the original intent. And there's a lot of different tests over different materials, instructional, whatever the curriculum is. You got it in the 4th grade. When you take it in the 10th grade, you have to pass it in order to graduate, and there are some issues with teaching to the test. So Sam's wife, Candy, retired from the Chelmsford Public School System, and she has a take on it, and so maybe you could share her ideas.
Well, this is a good example of how your mind needs to be open and receptive to new information, and you may change your mind. A lot of the trouble in the world is caused by people who think they're always right and they can't listen and learn anything new. So initially I read through the question, and the only thing I ever knew about MCAS was what I'd heard other people say, and those folks may or may not have been informed. So I was leaning toward voting against the question to eliminate the MCAS as a graduation requirement. Talking to my wife about it, who's had 39 years teaching elementary school, and so she is very well informed on this topic because she had to deal with it for many years. And she said, you may want to rethink your position, because she said, you really don't understand what's going on with MCAS. And when people say, the teachers have to spend a lot of time teaching to the test. And so I said, well, why is that a bad thing? Because if you're teaching to the test, then the kids are learning the facts or whatever it is. No, that's not what that means. What it means is they're spending time teaching the kids how to take the test because of the way the questions are worded, and doesn't have anything to do with the knowledge or the content that they're supposed to learn. She said, so the teachers are wasting a lot of time essentially in procedural matters, teaching the kids the procedure of how to take. And I thought, well, that's not right, because if you have an hour of time for teaching and you have to spend a half an hour showing the kid, well, this is how you navigate the question to get the answer they're looking for, as opposed to saying, learn your multiplication tables, that's a bad thing, okay? So, and I'm going to, 39 years in the school system, and she's an honest woman, I'm going to go with what my wife says. She's the expert, I am not. So I've changed my mind on that.
Well, I think...
And it's the same thing with the question on the tips. All right, do I work in a restaurant? I've never done that.
Well,
I've never
stick
been.
on MCAS for a little
well,
bit.
I'm just making a point here, okay?
Well, we're talking about the questions.
And the point is that if you want to understand what these things are about, talk to the people that are affected by the result of the vote. So if you're trying to find out, do I vote to eliminate tips or not, talk to people in the restaurants who make money on tips. And if you do that, they'll all tell you they're against the question. So I'm listening to those people. Those people are directly affected. So on the MCAS issue, I'm listening to professional teachers that I trust to tell me what really is happening with the MCAS situation. And I have to tell you, based on what my wife said, my eyes were opened. I had no idea that
Evelyn, you were a
that was all
teacher in the
about.
last century. What do you think?
No MCAS when you were teaching.
Well, we obviously in the 70s.
But you were on the school committee when that was going on.
Right, and I also was on the board of directors of
Yeah.
the Mass Association of School Committees. Our take basically at the time was that the test was a good thing because of the measurement, the status. Just like when you have SATs, and then we used to have Iowa tests, and there's all kinds of other names of all the different tests that they've created in order to test what you knew. But that was testing on content. And there weren't trick questions, unless you take the GREs, which is for the graduates ones. But the general consensus was MCAS was a good thing because of the measurement status, and it gave us a clue as to what everybody was doing. But if you have teachers, which he asked my opinion and then left the room, but maybe he can hear me in the other room, if you have teachers that are trying to see how they can help the students take the tests, and you're taking away from teaching time, then you're not helping.
Teaching content.
Right, well.
Right.
Right, you're not really, anyway, teaching what it is that in the curriculum versus what it is in the test, which is supposed to be reflective of the curriculum. To me, I find that an issue.
Oh, yeah, right, and I'm going to take her at her word. So when MCAS first was proposed years ago, I said, typical Massachusetts, we're the smartest people in the world, nobody else knows anything. The state of New York has had a standards test for, at that point, 100 years called the New York Regents, and that is totally content-based, okay? And to graduate from the New York public school system, you have to pass at certain levels the Regents. So my comment was, well, why don't we just look and see what New York is doing, and maybe we can emulate most of that. Why? Oh, no. Well,
we have to reinvent the
we're
wheel.
Massachusetts. We're a lot smarter than New York, and you know, it's this arrogance that we have, okay? If something is working well in another place, let's take a look at that and let's adapt it to our situation. But of course, if we do that, that means an awful lot of people aren't going to be hired and be put on the public payroll at taxpayer expense. So we can't do that, okay? Let's reinvent the wheel and create this huge bureaucracy and this apparatus. And yes, that's what we want to do. No, that's what we shouldn't be doing, okay? So, you know, this.
So I think you get a new perspective
Yeah.
when you talk about the people that are in the trenches. Now,
Exactly.
in the opposing side, a lot of people have drawn the conclusion that the reason the teachers don't want it is because they don't want to be held accountable.
Exactly.
And
That's not true, in my opinion.
Well, I would agree with you there,
Yeah.
but generally, you have that fear-mongering with people, and that the kids are going to now be stupid because, you know, the teachers aren't going to be
Right.
teaching anything, and that's not true.
Oh, I think a lot of people have that perception.
Yeah,
I
well,
think you're right.
you got to voice
Now,
it, because even if
Right.
you
I
don't
know
agree
we're
with
going to
it.
come back to this because Judy Bessette's here, but I want to put this in here. With no testing, I haven't had one superintendent of schools be able to tell me how many kids stayed back last year. I'll get back to you on that.
Probably
So
none.
nobody stays back,
Yeah, probably none.
and the MCAS test, once it's gone, it can't be modified. It's gone. So Sam, you're going to move over one?
Yes, I'm going to get some coffee. Now I'm going to get some coffee.
I'm going to put up the Florida hurricane.
Yes,
one.
right here, like
Doing
you
a
did
little,
last time when you were here.
This is a live video from Florida, and the sun is it'll be up about like 10 minutes, so we'll have a lot better
As
view.
long as you can tell, I know Key West is the upper left.
Yeah, it says on the bottom where it is. Like, I'd like to know where the bottom left is, but it doesn't say.
It could be Clearwater. I saw a video this morning.
Clearwater's a nice town. What do we have here? Some material.
Ooh, we do.
Judy, is that on the web anywhere?
I'm glad I brought my glasses.
www.
Oh, yes is the answer? Okay, good. When I get you guys up, I'll go find that.
Did you give him one of these?
Get back up, kid.
No, but I will.
Hi, welcome back. Our guest is here, Judy Bessette. We're trying to, she has handed out,
Beautiful.
it's like a playbill.
Nice book.
And, different ads are in there and content, and she can tell us about it because I can read this, but John had asked whether or not there was a website for this. And so he's going to look up that website for this, and I'll turn it over to you, Judy, so that you can tell us a little bit more about what this event is.
Starts
You want to
tomorrow.
make sure you're about that far away from the mic. You want to
Okay,
be close.
thank you. I'm here to talk about the 36th annual Lowell Celebrates Kerouac Festival, which will run October 10 through 14, 2024, of course.
That's tomorrow, right?
Starts, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Tell us about it.
yep, starts tomorrow. You said it's the 36th annual festival and partnering with Poe in Lowell 2024.
Right. So it's a celebration of Lowell-born author Jack Kerouac.
So Judy, is this a site here?
It's not up yet.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Much more times.
All right.
There we go.
There you go.
Yes.
That looks
Yes,
like it.
that looks like it, right.
Okay, so we can use this to
Yes, you
enlighten
can.
the audience, but please proceed.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to say a little bit about Jack Kerouac.
Yes.
Now, I have to say, I'm a blow-in. I was not born even in Massachusetts. I'm coming from Rhode Island.
Close enough.
So I was introduced to, I have been a part of this Jack Kerouac program for about 10 years now. And I could read through, let's say, events will start actually, if today is Thursday, then they're going to start today. And
Thursday, October 10th is today, yep.
Right. 2 to 3:30 is, some people might remember Roger Brunel, who was a member of Lowell Celebrates Kerouac. He accrued a vast collection of documents having to do with the history of Lowell and Lowell Celebrates Kerouac. So our first event is going to be at O'Leary Library, UMass Lowell South Campus. That'll be 2 to 3:30 today. Dedication of the Roger Brunel collection. And then I could go through all of these things.
Judy, could you take 1 second and let the audience know, because maybe some people don't know, who was Jack Kerouac? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I shall try.
Okay, thank you.
Born and raised in Lowell. Born in 1922, March 1922, to a French-Canadian family, I will say. Lived in various places downtown Lowell. Was a communicant at St. Jean Baptiste Church. Wrote numerous novels. Maybe most people are familiar with his novel called On the Road.
Yes, that's probably the most famous.
Right, but he wrote many novels. And some people say they're written almost autobiographical, but fiction. So he is a character, let's put it that way. He also wrote, and one of his last published books was a book called Satori in Paris. So I have been thinking about what I would say today. So I'm going to read a couple of quotes from that book because it illustrates he was an author and also a poet. He wrote a lot of poetry. So here's a couple of quotes from his book, Satori in Paris. Now, he gives his definition of a satori. This is based on a trip that he took to Paris in 1964, I believe. He says, somewhere during my 10 days in Paris and Brittany, I received an illumination of some kind. In effect, a satori, the Japanese word for sudden illumination, sudden awakening, or simply kick in the eye. Another quote from the book. I get drunk and forget. Over the speaker is coming endless American modern jazz over a tape. Then he goes on to say, these are just quotes from the book. Meanwhile, I go down to the famous cafes on the boulevard and sit there watching Paris go by. Such hepcats, the young men, motorcycles, visiting firemen from Iowa. You can see he's starting to get a little bit poetic in the way he talks. Now I see the harbor, the flower pots in back of kitchens, old breasts, the boats, couple of tanker out there, in the wild headlands in the gray scudding sky, summit like Nova Scotia. Then he goes on to say, and I'm quoting here, yet this book is to prove that no matter how you travel, how successful your tour, or foreshortened, you always learn something and learn to change your thoughts.
I hope that's true.
Well, I think it is.
We were just talking before you got here about people whose brains are fixed in cement and they can't ever alter their opinions. So we say that we hope we try to have open minds and receptive to new facts and information, and have the ability to change our minds when the facts justify it. So it seems like that's what he was saying in that quote.
Right, and I think he was also commenting on the importance of travel.
Yes.
Travel.
Well, it does. It broadens your experiences when you travel and you see things and you meet other people, especially in other cultures. And when you do that, if you do it on a first-hand basis, you have more of an appreciation of what is going on in other cultures, and also you can gain your own opinions rather than relying on someone else's.
Exactly. And Kerouac always reminded me a little bit of Henry David Thoreau, if you're familiar with Thoreau, who was a literary historical figure who lived in Concord, Mass. in the mid-1800s. But he kind of was had the same type of outlook as Kerouac, or probably we should say Kerouac because he came after Thoreau, had the same outlook as Thoreau. So very interesting people. And Kerouac, I think, is just a very interesting character. If I had to characterize him, I'd say maybe I would call him a brilliant eccentric. Is that would that be an accurate term to describe Jack Kerouac?
I'm going to say brilliant, and I will go along with that. Eccentric. That word is open for interpretation.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it is.
I think he's a genius, really. But then again, people would debate that. That's a tough word to use.
That's why I use the word eccentric, because that kind of takes in a little bit of the genius aspect of it, right? So.
Well, the way in which he wrote, they said that he was like of the Beat generation, and he had a wide range of topics that he wrote on, and he could spontaneously write or do prose and poetry and different things like that. So in that field, he could be classified as a genius. But he wouldn't be the genius in terms of rocket science.
Oh, no.
Because
different kinds of
it's
genius.
Right.
Right.
There's different topics that people have a tendency to be really good in, or excellent or of a genius level, if you want to go in that direction. I don't know enough about it, and I haven't read much about him in order to be able to give an adequate assessment. I only can go by some of the assessments that I have read, and I find some of it, fascinating. We have a local author that is almost like a cult. People. You're having a festival, you're having all kinds of things to celebrate all of the accomplishments that he made and the writings that he had while he was living amongst us. He died in 1969.
Yeah, so a lot of people remember him, actually.
They do.
Yeah. So thank you for taking the time to talk about him a little bit, just in case some of the viewers weren't familiar. But talk a little bit more about the festival now. I'm just going through the book here, and you've got quite a few events scheduled.
We do.
It doesn't look like you could do all of them because some of them occur at the same time.
In different locations?
In different locations, so you would have to
Pick and
look
choose?
through this and pick and choose what you want to do.
You do, and people who have been coming for years usually do exactly that.
And maybe tomorrow, John, you would be able to also advertise this at some point, because it's over this weekend, this
Right.
current weekend.
Yeah, it's got, even for Monday, I think, if you look at the book.
Into Monday, right.
Yeah.
A lot of
Well,
good stuff in
Monday,
the book.
isn't Monday a holiday? Are you
Yeah.
on Monday?
No.
Okay, so there's no, but you are tomorrow with Cliff, so might be able to
Monday is-
discuss a little bit more about the details so that the audience tomorrow may be different than today's, because
Yeah.
since
Well, it's a
in
local event.
Chelmsford, we're live today, but we're also on, I think, Sunday and Tuesday, and Sunday would be good because if people are listening on the Sunday, to be able to understand there's different events, and they can look at
It's a nice,
the
nice brochure.
website that you see
Very
that's
nice.
underneath her name on the bottom of the screen. So you can check and see what the events are. I'm certainly sure they're up there, and if anything else is coming up in the future, so if people are interested in that.
I'd like to mention one more thing, too. Some of you and your viewers might be familiar with the St. Jean-Baptiste Church, which there's an effort to convert the church into a Kerouac cultural center.
Oh, interesting.
But I would say for at least the past year, there's an artist who would be called a muralist, has created a mural on one of the walls of the church. And it's a mural dedicated to Jack Kerouac. So there will be an unveiling of that. I believe it is at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Now, I'm not seeing that in this program.
No, I don't see
But
it.
I believe it's 1 o'clock on this coming Sunday. So,
Maybe it was something that occurred after this was printed.
very possibly.
Yeah.
So
That's
there will
not
be an
in it.
unveiling. And if you haven't seen it, I really recommend that you get down there to look at that mural.
So it's Jack Kerouac weekend this week.
It is, and then we have been doing this for, let's say, 36 years now.
And I thought I heard Evelyn say he died in 1969.
69.
Yeah, he's 47.
Unfortunately, yes.
He had cirrhosis. You have something here, because the name is familiar, a Charles Shuttleworth. That's not a common name. Do you know anything about him?
Well,
That is on Saturday.
right, he teaches. He teaches at the Harker School in San Jose, California. Now, he is a noted Kerouac scholar and has written about Jack Kerouac.
Yeah, I can see that. That's why he's there. It says, signed copies of his previously edited works of Jack Kerouac. Do you know how old he is?
Ooh, no comment.
Evelyn, a little shout out
Sorry.
time. So
I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
My mother knew a Shuttleworth when she was working for the Navy in the 40s.
Interesting.
And this would be that person's son or grandson, depending upon the age bracket, if it was related.
If it was
And
related.
it would be interesting to find out, just because, well, my mother's 103, and I'll ask her if I can remember the different stories. It's nice to always share something about somebody that you were related to.
Good, I suggest you try to get to that event, which will be at the Lowell National Historical Park, 2 o'clock. That would be great. He'd be happy to tell you.
So time is short, kids.
I will
I'm
try
gonna
to
refer
figure out a
the
different way.
The online thing. It's called Lowell Celebrates Kerouac, all one word. LowellCelatesKerouac.org. And this is what's going to be happening. So Judith, if you can tell us, today is Thursday.
Right.
So today you got something going on. If we wanted to go to this event, where is it?
You can't, it's October 3rd, so you want to scroll down, John.
Yeah, okay.
Scroll down to the
Those were
10th.
I'm
pre-festival
sorry I'm
events,
so
John.
stupid. I'm just doing the best I can.
I-
Okay,
I
If
use
you guys
it-
want to come over here and try this,
I can't
you do
believe
a much
it's
better job.
I can't believe it's the 10th either. Its time has just gone
Oh,
by
I
so
know,
quickly.
it's flying
Okay,
by.
so that's the event at O'Leary Library at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, dedication of the Roger Brunel collection. Roger Brunel, okay, so I shall illuminate a little bit. Longtime member of Lowell Celebrates Kerouac. He has been collecting, as it says, letters, news articles, photographs. He interviewed people who knew Jack Kerouac. He passed away in 2021. Enormous collection, and the collection has been turned over to the university, specifically to the Center for Lowell History. So there'll be a dedication ceremony, 2 o'clock at O'Leary Library. For those of you who are familiar, South Campus, 61 Wilder Street.
So moving on to tomorrow, Friday.
Friday.
Got a lot of stuff
Oh,
going on.
bus tour. That sounds exciting.
Several bus tours. I'll just mention that there is, before we go into the bus tours, Jack Kerouac, poetry contest, which we have been sponsoring for many years. Unfortunately, that is not open to the public. I just want you to be aware of that, though.
Okay, but Friday, we're looking at it Friday on the TV screen. So might want to talk about Friday, then we'll move into Saturday. And again, time is short.
Okay. Let's see, how fast can I go? Okay, bus tour. A bus tour, Merrimack River Anthology, Kerouac's Franco-American Ghosts. And while I'm looking at that, I just want to quickly get in, because I forgot to mention this. Kerouac was only speaking French until he
Well,
went,
sacre bleu.
which I think is rather amazing. So he's only
Until what-
speaking
until
French
what age?
till elementary school,
Okay.
6th grade.
And my favorite one is Où est la bibliothèque?
There you go.
Very good.
That's not bad.
Okay. So we do have a bus tour at 11, Kerouac's Franco-American Ghosts, okay.
So where
Which
would-
will go to,
Where do you get the bus? It's all on so if you go on the website, Lowell Celebrate, because there's a lot of information here. And
The bus departs and returns to the Lowell National Historical Park Visitor Center on Market Street. That's what it says, the last, second to last sentence.
they're
of that
requesting
paragraph.
it says requesting a $10 donation.
Yep.
okay, I want to let you know, too, that that's going to be going, John, maybe you can pronounce this, St. Joseph Cemetery, you can pronounce that in French. It seems
Their
that...
sign is in French.
La Cimetière Saint-Joseph.
Very good, okay.
See, Sam, you're bright. That Concord school system's one of them. Moving on to Saturday.
Okay, I will.
just because it's 30 minutes, that's all it's just the thing we do. It's only 30 minutes.
Okay, Saturday, 9 o'clock, commemorative at the commemorative. That would be at the very end of Bridge Street,
Okay.
which we are calling, this is an annual gathering, sort of like a kickoff to the weekend.
The bus tour of Kerouac sites, we still have people stop in summertime and ask us, where's Jack Kerouac's grave? Interesting. So a lot of people still love this guy.
Yes, they do. And
So
and
on
I have
Sunday,
to say,
what's
they're
going-
coming from all over the world,
There you
John.
go.
Yep.
They come from all over the world.
Yep.
So his books have been translated, I won't guess on how many languages, but
Many.
many, all over the world. It's fascinating, really.
So Sunday, we're looking at Sunday on the screen now. And
Oh, there, you talked about the mural a little while ago.
Yes, they did. Did they put that in there?
Yes,
Yeah.
11 a.m. to 1 p.m.,
Oh, good.
Jack Kerouac mural unveiling dedication.
Great.
So that's important.
that's up at the St. Jean Baptist
I
Church.
suggest if you have the opportunity to get over there, that would be great. It's an amazing mural. It's going to be a great
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
great for the city, actually, to have that mural.
And
It's
as many
huge.
remember, Monday's a holiday, so.
But there are events scheduled for Monday, so
That looks like a bus tour also.
there you go.
And one of many tours on foot led by Bill Walsh. And
Billy Walsh, good guy.
I'm sure, yes. He's going to do that on Monday also, which will begin at the commemorative at Kerouac, what's called Kerouac Park. And I would suggest if you haven't been to Kerouac Park, take a walk over there. They're lovely.
Kerouac Park's on Bridge Street, downtown Lowell.
Yeah, right
Just
at
so
the
people
beginning
know.
of Bridge Street.
Do we know any idea what the weather is forecasted for this weekend?
Chilly but lovely.
Okay, so no
Yes,
rain.
there's no rain.
Okay,
And then coming up later on in the month, we got other things going on too.
good. Sounds like a,
So on the screen, if you look on the screen right now, it has the website where you can go and peruse everything we just talked about. So Judy, we got to sum up your visit. So anything else you want to put out to the audience today?
Drop in,
Okay.
drop by,
drop by, attend the events.
attend the events, drop into the Worthen.
Yeah, we had lunch at the Worthen a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God, delicious lunch.
Well, I'm
Great
glad
time.
to hear that. Yeah.
Great time.
So you will find, that's a congregating point. It will be interesting because you will meet people from
Different parts of the world.
different
All over
parts-
the world.
all over the country, for sure.
So that's all over the weekend. Just drop into the old Worthen
Anytime, but if you go to the
and meet some
website,
foreigners.
we do have, one of the events I will take part in is people can read their poetry.
Oh,
So that's one event on Sunday at 1 at the Worthen. That will take place at the Worthen.
now Worthen is a bar in downtown Lowell. Right next to, was it still Goodyear Tire? Right near City Hall. It's right near City Hall, the Worthen.
It's Worthen Street.
They have a
corner-
nice parking lot across the street too.
They
Plenty of place
do.
plenty
They
free
do.
parking there.
Thank you, John. And the Worthen itself is a historic building. I believe it's 1823, 26.
Well, I get a kick out of the fans in the ceiling. There's one big rubber band that makes all those fans work.
I was just talking about that with someone recently. That system to make the fans run certainly is not original to that building, cannot be. But that's a good question.
Still nice to watch. They have a
I'll
nice
find
staff
out.
down there and the
I
food
know
is
they
yummy.
do.
So Judith, we're gonna leave it there, kiddo. I'm gonna put, unless you got something else you want to put out there?
No, thank you.
All righty, so I gotta find something to put up, and I'm gonna
All
do.
right. And I'm going to say
Go
au
ahead.
revoir and arrivederci.
Oh, good, 2 languages.
Well, thank you very much for coming and sharing all of that. So if
Judith, a
people
lot
are
of hard
looking,
work goes into this. God
Yeah.
bless you. Thank you.
people are looking for some things to do over the weekend, here's one. Location is in that picture?
No, I was talking to Judith. I didn't look.
Oh, no, we were talking about that earlier. I didn't know if that was something you could do.
Let's scroll down. I'll just put it back up. We'll scroll down. And this is all the information that I know about it. And it's a live stream, and I didn't make any sense of which camera was which.
Okay,
Can you make any sense out of that?
no, not in terms of identification.
So, this
I
is
only
down
know
in
that,
Florida.
I only know that the one in the upper left-hand corner is Key West because they were taking
Now
pictures.
we're doing an ad, so we're gonna go back to you guys.
Okie dokie. Okay, so welcome back. If you're looking for something to do over this coming weekend, including today, up until Monday, there is the Jack Kerouac, I would call it like a festival. It celebrates. There's a lot going on with regard to that. You have the dedication of a collection of writings of Brunel, and he just died recently, was 86. And so he had a lot of information with regard to Jack Kerouac. And then you had Charles Shuttleworth, who is also a writer, and he also is a teacher in California. There's a lot of information that's out there, and there's a lot online if you'd like to go to
Check the
that
website.
website.
Check the website.
And if you're new to the area and you want to look up more, there it is. So
Well,
where is this located?
This is New Smyrth Beach, courtesy of EarthCam, but I'm gonna guess this is the East Coast, because the storm is going out to sea now. But beautiful Mother Nature.
Oh, it's amazing,
And
the amount of power. And also, as far as the hurricane goes, there was quite a number of deaths, but so far the deaths have been attributed to the tornadoes. My sister did say, because I did speak to her yesterday briefly, she did
sister
say,
in Florida.
yes, on the West Coast. And she was south of where this came ashore. But she did say that she could see, at one point, one of the tornadoes. She thought it was just dark clouds, and then she realized it wasn't. But it didn't affect them, and I think she said it was like 10 minutes away from where she was staying. And I had some friends that flew up here. My sister has a dog, so she wasn't flying on the airlines, and a cat, so she can't manipulate both of those animals together. So anyway, there's a lot of prayers that went out for the people that was in the path of this hurricane, as the continued prayer and concerns that we all have with regard to North Carolina. If you're looking at making donations, obviously there's the Red Cross. I prefer to go something a little less large than that, as far as Samaritan's Purse was on the ground, but they're also located in North Carolina, so they could
Yes.
easily be there. Some of the interviews with people were
They were
that
quickly
they
deployed.
had been volunteers for other locations for Samaritan's Purse, and now they were the victims, and it was strange for them to receive that. And are these all of the pets that they have collected from the hurricane?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get, if you bring your pet to the shelter, you got to put the pet in a cage. Because this is a shelter. They had
That makes sense.
so because dogs when they're fine when they're with you, but when they see other dogs, they get extra excited, and they're
Yeah.
comfortable to be in their cage. So we don't. I'm not going to put the audio up on this stuff here, but this is just one of the TV stations down there. And
They said that in the different shelters, there was over 200,000 people that they sheltered.
220, I think.
And
said.
they had over 3 million people without power, but they're not sure about the cell towers. Because I had texted my sister this morning. I didn't call on the way in because she's staying with someone. I got nothing. And usually she's awake at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we'll see if there's any of that. So there's a lot of places for volunteers. I said to Glenn, I says, I think we're a little old to go and try to help clean up places, but I do get motivated to go and do stuff like that, but we'll leave it to younger
just
people,
go
I
out the
guess.
backyard with the leaves.
Well, I got a lot going on anyway, no matter what it is.
But this is different live shots, and I don't know what TV station this is in Florida. This is obviously
The power of water. It's unbelievable.
Well, you also have the power of wind. That's why they want
Yep.
to do the windmills and stuff. There's different places where the tides are really strong, but you can't
We can
harness
stick on
that.
this and go back to the.
We're going to go back to the questions. We got a number of things, but we just wanted to, highlight. In the first hour, we talked a little bit more about hurricanes. We ended the first hour and sort of the beginning of City Life this morning with discussing some of the questions that's on the ballot in Massachusetts. So we talked about the MCAS, which is the high-stakes test for public school students that they pass in order to graduate, and there is a question about whether or not you should do away with it. And so the general consensus, in the booklet that you should have received.
Question 2, and the booklet is put out by the Massachusetts Secretary of State, Bill Galvin. It's red. I'm sure most people are familiar with this. It's mailed to registered voters, and it contains all the information that you would want on any of these questions. You generally have, if it's a proposed legislation, they give you the complete copy of the law as it's written, but they also give you an executive summary if you don't feel like reading all of the text. And then they also generally give you an argument for or an argument against the question written by, people who advocate one way or the other. So it's not accurate to say that there's no information out there on these questions. The information is out there. It's put out by the Secretary of State. So read up, and then you may or may not have a question, an additional question or questions on your local ballot. For example, in Chelmsford, we're going to have a question on a debt exclusion to renovate fire stations. So that will also be on the ballot in Chelmsford. So there may be other questions in addition to what is talked about in the Secretary of State's booklet.
Yeah, so in Chelmsford, we have 5 fire stations. We put a new one in the center. Some people on Facebook are saying, making comments about the fact that you have
People
that.
are making comments on Facebook. I'm shocked to hear that.
What
And,
it's for, baby.
and when they make the comments, my conclusion is that they don't have all of the information. The
Ignorance is bliss.
original fire station that was in the center was falling apart. The floor was falling down. It was disintegrating, among other things structurally with regard to
It
that.
was unsafe.
And we couldn't put
No.
fire engines in it. So one of the reasons to build a new one is because it was time to do that. And it wasn't because there wasn't maintenance done on the building, because Chelmsford, as we know with regard to the schools and some of the other buildings, is really good with their maintenance, and that's why we aren't getting a lot of money from the state to help us, because we're taking care of what it was that we were given.
No good deed goes unpunished.
So they're going to do some renovations to Station 3, which is in West Chelmsford, or what they call the West Station. And then you have South Chelmsford, which is Station 5, and they're going to demo that and build another one because there's not enough room to add on or do what they need to do with regard to that. And one of many reasons, besides the condition of the buildings, is the fact that in today's world, you have both male and females that are firefighters, and you have to have accommodations for both. And there are different other requirements and regulations, and you need that in your buildings.
Well, Evelyn, it begs the question, okay? What's wrong with putting a lock on the bathroom door?
What about a shower?
Yeah, it isn't
It's in
just.
a room with a door, you lock the door.
Right. What about living facilities?
Yeah,
You want
yeah,
them to sleep together?
Sleeping
Well,
accommodations.
they already have separate bedrooms, Evelyn. That's a known fact. They all have separate bedrooms. But when it comes to a bathroom, generic's the way to go with a lock on the door, because now they're going, well, now we have a firefighter that's transgendering. They want a special bathroom for.
Well, I think.
I don't
there's-
know about
Call it a
that. We'll deal with that when we
restroom.
get
Call it
there.
a
I think you're
restroom.
right. I think you're
Put a
right.
lock on the door.
Yeah, I always thought the bathroom issue was a little overblown, but getting
Very
back.
expensive.
Getting back to sleeping accommodation, so if you look at the Central Fire Headquarters that Evelyn just talked about, that was built almost 10 years ago now, right? Yes, there are separate sleeping facilities because it's a relatively modern building, and also in the North Chelmsford Station. But the two stations that we're talking about are basically, when they were built, they were essentially glorified garages is what they were. So in those two facilities that they're talking about, they don't have separate sleeping accommodations. So that's an issue that has to be addressed at those locations. The other thing is the regulations regarding how you have to treat the protective equipment that the firefighters wear in terms of decontamination. Those types of regulatory issues for how you have to handle those situations didn't exist 40 and 50 years ago when those facilities were built. So now they need areas in those facilities to accommodate what they are required by law to do in terms of their process of, after post-firefight, post response event, whatever it is they have to do. They have to have facilities that can accommodate all of the hazardous materials situations that they have to deal with. And these things were not considered 50 years ago when these places were built. So it's time to modernize them. So you can argue about whether we need new facilities or not, but the fact is something has to be done. They have to do something to these facilities, whether it's build new or renovate. So something has to be done. If the issue doesn't pass at the ballot, they're going to have to come back and do something, propose something else, because they cannot just ignore the current situation.
The other point, if anyone in the listening audience in Chelmsford is reluctant to put money towards things, as far as the fire department goes, think about where you live and how fast you would like the fire department to get to you.
And it isn't just fires. I mean, you have to remember, it's the modern fire departments today are really emergency response departments. So the majority of responses that we have in Chelmsford, and I'll assume this is probably true for Lowell too, are not fire related. They are medical related. So think about that. The studies, they did a study this past 2 years, and it's the third study that's been done in 30 years. And all three studies have confirmed that if you want to maintain an acceptable response time that's defined by the National Firefighters Association that talks about these things. If you want acceptable response times, in Chelmsford, the way we're laid out geographically, you have to have a 5-station configuration. So after 3 separate studies all coming up with the same answer, I'll accept that, right? I'm not an expert. I'm not a firefighter. I think if you have 3 separate independent studies that all come to the same conclusion, I think it's probably safe to accept that conclusion. So I'll accept the five-station situation.
Well, again, it's response time.
right.
And when we were trying to do the rotation on the fire station, some people actually had firsthand experience with
Right,
that.
right.
So we do have that. We want to make sure people know what's going on.
Very
There's stuff on the website.
Yep, very important.
I think that there's also informational meetings that either have occurred or will occur with regard to if you're, want to attend those. And you can check on the Town of Chelmsford website
Yep.
for the schedule of all of those different events that's out there. There's a visioning, what do you want, for long-range planning in the town.
I can't think of another situation in the last 30 years where there has been a better effort at pushing the information out for people who want to be informed. I mean, one of the comments I saw on Facebook, which I think was absolutely ridiculous, well, they snuck this on the ballot. No, they did not sneak it on the ballot.
We've been talking about
I
it.
have never, the committee has been doing this work for 2.5 years. It has been constantly talked about. It's on the town website. They have done push-outs on Facebook and social media.
Well, we've
If
even
you-
talked about it here.
Yeah, if you don't know about it, then you've been in a different country. That's
Yeah.
all I have to say. I mean, it's just, and I'll tell you, I get so aggravated with people. They want to be spoon-fed everything. So apparently, none of us is at all responsible for trying to find out information.
Well, Sam, also,
You know-
a bad hobby that we have in America is to complain.
Oh,
It's a
of
hobby
course.
of a lot of people.
Of course,
Including myself.
of course.
I think that we all complain about something at some point. Some
Of course we
people,
do.
they have a very negative, pessimistic attitude towards things, or conspiracy theorists.
And while we're on the topic, I get a kick out of the local government, state government, federal government. They use the word they. They are going to do this. Excuse me, elected official. It's we are going to do this.
Yeah, we're paying for
You're
it.
in charge, buddy. We elected you. And there's no, when it comes to the government, local, state, federal, you should say we, not that. They knocked that building down by mistake. They're your employees. They work under you. We knocked that building down by mistake, and we're sorry about it. Not they knocked the building. I hear that all the time in the news media.
Well,
And if we're complaining about,
It's part of the brainwashing effort, because we've all been conditioned to say the government should do this, the
Yeah,
government
but
should
they
do
don't
that.
realize what it is.
And, well, they do that
Excuse me.
so that you don't think that whenever you say that, what you're really saying is, I don't mind dipping into my pocket and pulling my money out and putting it towards whatever you think the government should do. Because if we can all be conditioned to say the government should, then it completely divorces that from our responsibility.
Quite often I'll
And
ask-
that's just the point you were just making, John, okay?
Quite often I ask the guest, who's the they?
yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Well, that's a key
Yeah.
piece. I read a book.
It's us.
A long time ago.
You read a
By
book?
Tammy Bruce. And that's when, it was
I can
very
tell you a
logical,
funny-
very
I can tell you a funny
straightforward.
story about Tammy Bruce, but go ahead.
Well, that's okay. We can do that another day. We're going to run out of time.
Yep.
But it was, define the they, the she, the it. And one of the things that always has confused me is that you have people complaining about what's going on, even in the state of Massachusetts, but yet you still vote for the same people that are doing it.
It's amazing.
So
Isn't that the definition of insanity?
don't keep putting the same people in there.
Doing
If
the
you-
same
so
thing
you
and
must like
expecting
what's
a
going
different,
on.
yeah, doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
That's the definition of insanity.
Well, part of it is a distrust of the other party.
That's how Lowell
which
treats
is
the
unfortunate.
homeless.
Yeah.
That's how what?
Lowell's treating the homeless.
Yeah, that's amazing. I saw that in the paper. I just,
And we had 2 city councilors insist, let's give it another shot. What you've been doing for 20 years, it's a failure.
right, exactly.
Last night I went to Karen Casella's party up in Belvedere at Long Meadow.
You think she's got it? I think she's got it.
Oh, well,
I think she's got it.
the only option is a write-in if you
Exactly.
don't want Karen, write something
Not
in.
gonna happen.
But I sat with Karen for a little bit. Oh,
Yeah.
she's happy camper. I
She
asked
should be.
her- I says, Karen, no, because she's been working there for like
32 years.
very good memory, Sam. So she's been working there for a long time. I says, well, how's the atmosphere with Dick Howe down there? Because
Well, he's out.
I don't know. And she says, John, it's fantastic. He's showing me stuff about payroll that I should know,
And
how
that
the
does-
records go. and
That does not surprise me.
he's working
Yep.
with me. And,
That's Dick.
He says, she says, it's pleasurable.
Yeah, that's Dick.
So
That's the way he
So
is.
there was like 50, 60 people there, and okay, like Steve Panagiatakis was there, John Cox, Regina Fatacanti. Vesna Noon was there.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other elected people. But there were 50, 60 people, and it was scrumptious food. That she had a little spread of food there, so it was good.
You know, I'll tell you.
Karen Castello, a good woman.
I'll tell you how people felt about her, and I think it's absolutely right. You know, you look at 3 people running for that office in the Democratic primary, and she was the only person who had direct, actual working experience and knowledge of the office, and she was in a lower level administrative level, and I think it really that kind of gave me some faith. I looked at that situation and I said, you know, people looked at it and they saw a professional politician who really didn't have any background. They saw another person who didn't have any background really that was aspiring for the office, and they chose the long-term employee who was probably worthy of a promotion, okay? And I like to, yeah,
that was commendable on
and
their part.
very commendable, and I like to see that because, you know, it just shows you that sometimes, you know, your work and your hard effort in your career is rewarded. So her career was the Registry of Deeds. 32 years in the office. That was her career, and she was asking for a promotion. And I think the voters did the right thing. I really do, you know, in that regard.
So we're going to run out of time, but I'd like
Yep.
to kind of summarize some of the stuff that we did talk about this morning over the 2 hours. We want to make sure that people are aware of what the questions are that's on the ballot for Massachusetts and the question that is on the ballot in Chelmsford, Mass, to make sure that you're informed.
The debt exclusion, yep.
With a debt exclusion, it's not a permanent one. A lot of the other projects in Chelmsford that have been done that didn't go to the ballot was done within the budget and the debt exemption, the debt of the town, and so you have you know, very good management as far as the finances go.
We have a AAA bond rating, folks.
Yep, and so
Doesn't
we
get any
talked.
better than that.
We talked about. There's a lot of stuff we didn't talk about, but we talked about misinformation. And what Sam had just said is that everybody wants to be spoon-fed. And if you do not listen to the news broadcast to know that a lot of what they're claiming are lies, basically the information came out of the current administration, because I heard it directly. And if other people pick up on it and they repeat it, they're only repeating what it is that has been put out by information, especially that $750. Harris put it out, and you had a number of other things that's out there to please listen to a lot of the facts that's going on. So-
Tomorrow, City Life, we got Cliff Krieger's going to be the host. Eileen Del Rossi's going to be here. Jessica Wysocki's going to be here. She's a nurse.
Nurse practitioner.
And City Councilor and Vice Mayor Paul Ratham. Yeah, he'll be here tomorrow, too. So time is short, kids.
Now,
Right,
we can talk about the homeless.
Right. Well, one
situation.
of the things that I also wanted to bring up, I had taken a few notes here. In terms of the hurricane, there's a lot of places that you can donate money to that will help them
point.
out. But one of the other key pieces is, what does it do to part of our economy with regard to some of these natural disasters? And remember that Florida has crops. They have oranges, they have tomatoes, they have other fruits, avocados that may come locally. And if that's destroyed, that's going to affect the prices of those items. So if you are looking to put
create
some things in
shortage,
your
right.
freezer, please be aware of that. And I think it said that almost 50% of airplane fuel goes through Tampa, the port of Tampa. So you want to take a look at all of those items that may affect stuff and think long range. And so we'll see you guys, we will see you next Thursday, but tomorrow is City Life. And you said there's no City Life Live on Monday morning.
right.
Because it's a holiday. I hope everybody
Say
enjoys
goodbye,
the long
kids.
weekend.
See you later.
Tonight is the fundraiser for the Bridge Club in Greater Lowell. So $125 a ticket. Hope to see you there. Thanks. Tonight is the fundraiser for the Bridge Club in Greater Lowell. So $125 a ticket. Hope to see you there. Thanks. Tonight is the fundraiser for the Bridge Club in Great Lowell. So $125 a ticket. Hope to see you there. Thanks. Tonight is the fundraiser for the Bridge Club in Great Lowell.